that you know what you're dealing with.
Why don't you just tell us where you got these videotapes from? Tell us what they are. You should just watch them.
VHS 85. This just dropped on Shudder and I was able to take a watch finally. This is the long-awaited, sixth entry into the VHS franchise, and once again, it's a bit of a mixed bag, consisting of 5 stories and a wraparound story featuring all sorts of horror-esque stuff set in 1985 and recorded on VHS tapes, so they're all found footage genre. We got a lot of ideas here. I've always enjoyed the VHS series, and I still think VHS 2 is unmatched in comparison to everything else, but this is still a decently solid entry into the franchise, and it definitely won't be the last. Oh god, no. They already confirmed a 7th is in the works and will release next year that says it will focus on sci-fi horror, which, okay, there's usually at least one segment in each one of these that has some sort of sci-fi element, so I guess an entire one focused on that could be fun. So how does this entry fare among the 5 others? This is about middle of the road, sadly. While much more consistent in its tone and width of subject matter, there isn't any one story that stands out as wildly imaginative or memorable. Like, I'll still be quoting Hail Ratma from VHS 94.
And in sports news, Ohio State plays the Indiana Hoosiers tomorrow night. Good luck to our Buckeyes. I'm Holly Marciano, Channel 6 News. Hail Radma.
Or Mabel from VHS 99's most memorable segment.
Remember, fresh souls taste the best.
This one has, I think, one really memorable segment, but it doesn't lead anywhere. Let me go story by story. The main gimmick for this anthology is that it is a taped-over documentary about a group of scientists discovering an alien-like shapeshifter and then try to teach it human culture with somewhat predictable results and a very meh ending that doesn't really go anywhere and feels more like a joke than anything else. I'll commend this one for actually having a wraparound story though, because the last one didn't. I still prefer the wraparound stories that tie in directly to the cursed videotapes, but as a whole, I guess this is fine. I like this setup, I like the story on its own, although, again, it does kind of forego the usual wraparound story with the cursed tapes. They're just not here. At least this one had the wraparound, unlike VHS 99, like I said, and it's all the better for it. VHS 99 just had little mixed together shots that one of the kids from one of its stories was making, but this is ultimately much better and more cohesive. Again, the ending twist though is a bit cheesy and it feels too quickly thrown together. It feels like this should have been a much longer story with a more defined ending, because once it ends, it pretty much just ends and that's it. There was a lot more I feel like it could have gone, but it feels like it throws it away for a joke because they had to wrap up. I feel a more creative and scary ending could have been made with just a little bit more thought. But as we go, let's get on to the actual stories. The first story in this is called No Wake and features a group of teens heading to an abandoned lake for some waterboarding. It's a great opening to the movie with a fun new twist that feels like it could have been explored a lot more than what we get in this short story. It ends rather abruptly, as for the first time in this series, this particular story is split into 2 separate segments. I'll get more into that and my overall thoughts with it when we get to that second segment. But overall, this is a really great opening that just wants to be explored so much more. Story 2 is called God of Death and really doesn't have all that much going on with it. It follows a Mexican news studio as an earthquake collapses the building. A lone survivor and a crew of rescuers try to escape, only to discover that something evil is trying to come through with the earthquakes. It's very slow and plotting, really a lot doesn't happen even as they're trying to escape the building. It probably has the most believable editing during the newscast, but the twist in this is very meh. The gore is at least decent and it includes a great big bad reveal at the end, but otherwise this is definitely one of the weaker stories that doesn't really add much to the genre. A shame, since it explores a more Aztec ideas that otherwise wouldn't be touched. Oh well. Story 3 is called TKNOGD, or Techno God. This one is set up as a recording of a one-woman performance art piece where a woman named Ada Lovelace criticizes the rise of technology by saying that it killed God in favor of a virtual one, and it strangely involves a lot of VR. This is another weird one. It's a little slow, but the pacing benefits it. The finale includes some fantastic practical gore effects too, and is probably the strongest acting from Ada, played by Siobhan Michelle. Really great work there. She was just really good casting, did a fantastic job with the character. It is just a little bizarre to see VR as the focus here, considering that this story was set in 1985, and VR headsets were nearly exclusively only used for training purposes at NASA, and not for recreation like this story suggests. VR arcade cabinets didn't even exist until the 90s, and even then they were few and far between. It's just a very odd detail, but it's an otherwise extremely solid and memorable segment for its ending. And then we have segment 4 called Ambrosia. This is the continuation of segment 1, following a woman and her twisted bat mitzvah. The characters from No Wake appear briefly, but that's about it. A fun idea with a predictable twist that kind of fizzles out before it's really able to explore it. This one had a ton of potential, especially being split into 2 segments, giving it a longer time frame than the other stories, but unfortunately, I think it just didn't have the time to fully commit to its ideas outside of surface level investigations here. This kind of idea, and trust me when I say that it's cool, it's unique, I like how it's explored, it just needed to be explored more, but this kind of idea and pacing definitely would have benefited from a full theatrical runtime. But ultimately, it's just kind of okay. A big wasted opportunity, I feel. This was directed by Mike P. Nelson, the same guy that did the 2021 Wrong Turn reboot, so he has some experience, but I feel like this particular story just needed another go at the writing table and some more time dedicated to its story, and then maybe it could have been something unique and fun. Oh well, I guess. There really isn't much else to say about this besides it's a bit of a shame. I wish there was just more of it. As it stands, it's really just an okay idea and works better as a proof of concept than anything else. The last segment is called Dream Kill, and it's directed by Scott Derrickson of Sinister and Black Phone fame. And this is a strong story to end out on. This one follows a cop trying to solve a series of home invasion murders that occur a week or so after he receives videos of the murders in the mail. Confused as to how he's getting tapes of the future, he has to try to solve the case fast. This one, while having an extreme cop-out of an explanation halfway through, is still mostly a lot of fun. Gory and twisted, and with some excellent sound design, especially in the murder videos. The best in this movie by far. The tapes are gritty and messed up, and it's a fun story, just overall. I just wish the explanation for the tapes transcending time actually made sense, or was more important to the plot than, oh, this person can do a thing, I'm not going to explain it, and everyone just accepting it. That's dumb and didn't really lead anywhere interesting, and just kind of fizzled out at the end with a pretty decent action sequence, but everything else after that reveal is just kind of okay in this story. It definitely falls apart and just relies on the gore and the action, which are good, but shouldn't be everything the story relies on. As a whole, this anthology collection is extremely mid. It has some high points, but a lot of them are ultimately overshadowed by poor writing or bizarre plot choices that occur through every segment. Techno God is really the only segment that works on its own without feeling like it ends too early or takes too long to get going, and sets up a fun idea that not only could be expanded upon in maybe a sequel segment, but feels like a short. The perfect length for this kind of movie. The subject matter could have been adjusted a little bit more. Maybe if this was set in the mid-90s, that would make more sense, but overall, Techno God is definitely the better part. This collection still has a lot of interesting ideas that just doesn't have the time to fully explore, which is frustrating. A lot of the VHS stories are short, and they know they're short, and they include some really interesting ideas, but then they have the decency to actually come up with an ending that makes sense and continues the story at a good flow instead of, oh, we're running out of time, we need to end this now. That's not the case with a lot of the other stories in the other VHS movies, but that's the case with most of these in this one, and it's weird. If that's the case, just make it longer. You can make it 2 hours. This is just over 100 minutes, so there's time, you can expand it. I still say that this is a decent entry into the VHS franchise anyway, so I don't see any issue with, say, putting it on as a background for any Halloween party, because it'll definitely draw attention with some of its scenes and just the way that it's shot. It looks good. This is a very good looking movie. I just wish it worked more as a whole. Otherwise, it is a very okay time waster. You could do a lot worse. You could watch VHS Viral instead. Oh no, now that's scary. As a collected whole, this is alright, but again, an otherwise somewhat unremarkable entry into the anthology franchise, VHS 85 gets a 6.5 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. VHS has always been interesting. I liked VHS 1, VHS 2 is still probably the best one. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It has arguably one of the best segments in all of VHS, and it's directed by one of my favorite Indonesian directors. Love it. VHS Viral is crap. It's not good. Not good at all. And then you had number 4 was 95, which was a pretty fun return to form. Very campy, focus on humor over than anything else. And then that kind of continued with VHS 99, where it was focusing a lot on the humor than everything else, which is okay. You can have horror comedies, you can have anthology films that are mostly horror comedies, but I like how it was in VHS 1 and 2, where it had some serious, scary shorts. VHS 95 and 99, again, just a little too focused on comedy. This one was nice, kind of a return to form where it focused on actual horror, but then started to include some comedy bits here and there. Still think that ending reveal of the wraparound story just threw everything away for a joke, and that sucks, but I don't know. I guess we'll see how the 7th one is going to be. I have no idea what they're going to call that one. What is it going to be? VHS 90? They're sticking in like the 80s and 90s now, and I don't know. These naming things are stupid. Just call it VHS 7. Who cares? But I guess we'll see. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, did you like this movie? Which is your favorite segment? Which is your favorite VHS? Don't forget to watch my previous VHS review for 95 or 99, one of those two. I can't remember. They're like right next to each other. I think it's 99. And after that, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video. And that's it. Have a great day. And if you're not, have a better one. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song.